everyone, and welcome back to the GamerGuildTV podcast, where you join myself, Chris, my lovely two co-hosts, Rob and Richie, as we dive into the week's video game news right here on youtube.com/GamerGuildTV. We're here to round up all of your juicy gaming content, and we're going to do that this very show. And we have a great show lined up for you all, everyone, talking about the Nintendo Switch 2, which might be real. The Final Fantasy 16 hype is real as well, because we're getting some DLC for that after they told us we weren't, and Starfield has the internet in an absolute uproar. But we're going to break all that down. Before we get into it, don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that bell so you're kept in the loop with all of the great content we do here, like this very show, like our weekly live streams, watch-alongs, and much, much more. Gentlemen, welcome. Richie, welcome.
Welcome.
Rob, welcome.
Welcome, I guess.
Who says welcome to welcome?
I don't know. Apparently.
Welcome. There might be a few
I'm saying
things.
Welcome to the audience.
Welcome all, of course. Welcome to you wonderful, fine folks out there who tune into our amazing show every single week. On a Monday, we drop it. I guess a warning, me and Richie are hanging a little bit this morning, so Apologies in advance. I actually don't feel as bad now we're into it, but if you keep an eye on me in about half an hour time or something, you could just see my brain trail off and disappear. But
if he's just like this, like...
Yeah, if I just die at the keyboard, then there's definitely... I'd hope that one of you would either contact my wife or head round to check I'm actually alive. But yeah,
I'm going to power the show with like a smug sense of superiority that I wasn't drinking yesterday.
It's a rare instance that you weren't actually out with us as well, so yeah, you can sit there in all your smugness. But as I said, we've got a great show for you all lined up, and we're going to get into it all. But untraditionally, I guess, for this show, I do want to get into what we've been playing, because I suspect... there's maybe only be one answer. But Rob, you hosted the show last week, did a cracking job at it. I think our audience are now familiar with that is the plan. We're going to rotate the host. So I'm back in the seat this week, but well done on hosting last week. It's no mean feat, which I think we chuckled leading into it, how you always go to start the shows and then you think, oh, I've got this. And as soon as the words come out your mouth, your brain goes, I don't know what I'm doing. It just like stumbles.
Yeah, there was like 6 takes that the audience did not see in that intro.
And then you get in your own head about it, and it's funny all the same. But no, great job, and thanks to everyone who left some positive comments as well. We do appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Rob, what have you been playing this week?
Well, I've been playing a big Bethesda title, which is much
Oblivion.
Skyrim, yeah. No, it's all been Starfield this week. I haven't had particularly much gaming time due to kind of work commitments, but what time has been spent in the old expansive and vastness of space.
And what are your first initial impressions then? While we're in this, we might as well talk about them, because that's all the internet is talking to.
Okay, are we doing the Starfield bit first? Okay.
Yeah, why not?
I think it's a fantastic setting. I think there's elements of the game which I completely adore, such as the skill system, the progression system, the shipbuilding, the resource gathering. Love all that stuff. I still think it's showing its age, even though it's only just came out. So if I had to rank it somewhere, I would still say it's like a 7 out of 10 for me. Regardless of that, is it a game I will sink 60 plus hours into? Yes.
Yeah, that seems to be the general consensus out there on the internet. But how dare you put a score on it, especially one that's your opinion on a game?
Yeah, he's an IGN plant. You're playing the PC, aren't you, Rob?
No, I'm actually playing it on the S because I wanted like a couch experience as opposed to, sitting here for 50 hours a week work and then
I get that.
However much work to put into on a game. So I think for me there's just a couple of elements of the game which in 2023 for a supposedly kind of, for lack of a better word, AAA title, there's certain things which are a bit unforgivable. The main thing I hate about this game, and I can't stress how much I hate it, is when you're having a conversation with an NPC and your companion wants to chime in with a conversation piece.
Oh, it overlays.
It just flips to like the other person, and I think there must have been such a simple solution to that, which maybe 20 more hours of effort in coding could have made something much better than that.
If we talk
stuff
about
like that, which really pulls me out.
My thing I found very annoying with the companions, I don't think the AI in them is that brilliant, because there's so many times I just ran in front of my gun, or like, okay, you try and be stealthy and they'll just charge. It's like, what are you doing? Come on.
Richie hates Vasco. He's already come.
He just kept stepping in front of me. It's like, I'm trying to shoot that guy, and now I'm shooting you.
It doesn't help he's massive as well.
It's not just Vasco. It's every companion I've had. So I was hating on Vasco a bit, because he's the first companion you get. So
he's just trying to protect you like a bullet shield. That's all he's trying to do.
Yeah, but I'm trying to be stealthy and use a sniper rifle to take a guy out at distance. I don't need you stepping in front of me.
I haven't done any stealth at all.
I just tell them
guns blazing with a shotgun.
As soon as I get in an area, I just tell them to wait there at the entrance and leave them behind.
Isn't it so easy to just, because it's like, whether it's a Bethesda game or not, it's so easy to jump into just like the little bugbear. Like, it's not going to stop me playing. I'm having a fantastic time. And like
same,
Rob
yeah,
said,
absolutely.
I'm going to plow many hours in this right up until probably Spider-Man comes out at this rate. But it's so hard to look and go, yeah, it's the creation engine. It's like version 2 of the creation engine it's made in. But I've never played a Bethesda game, so I went in knowing fine well, like, there's going to be some jank. Like the live stream we did on Thursday, go check it out, Cloud Gaming. Richie, at one point there was 2 just like bin boxes just started just going at it in like rotate, like attacking each other, like you see 2 flies or wasps having a fight. It was like that, and they were just floating. We basically discovered perpetual energy because these 2 boxes were just going at it, floating around in the air, and you had to laugh. But like
that's not jank. That's just ghosts.
I mean, it might
ghosts.
be a key plot point for all I know further down the line. But yeah, lots of exploration. Did a couple of more side missions. I think I'm about probably 18 hours in maybe, so I'm starting to get a good feel for it. I do believe there's a few tutorial things that you need to explain better, like the shipbuilding element and how you, even like Richie, I think you said about the grav drive introduction. They don't really show you it. It just goes, oh, you need to grav drive to this channel, this planet, sorry, and then it just leaves it, and you're like, okay.
I mean, I
so
figured it out, but
yeah, I figured it out as well on stream. But you just kind of like look around, and then after a while you go, GRV, is that grav? Tick tick. Oh wait, something's happening, and they just kind of stumble across it. It's like this guy does not have his pilot's license for spaceships, but here I am in space, figuring it all out.
So someone explain this to me, because I feel like I've missed something here.
So sometimes when you jump to planets, you don't have to go through the menu. You can actually like set a destination point, and you have to use like a light speed jump. But in your little indicators on the left, is this you learning about it right now?
I've just been going in the menu and going like plot course and then doing it that way.
That is the way it mainly makes you do it, which breaks the immersion a little bit for me.
I hate that.
It's too much menu inventory. But no, what you can do, Rob, is set your destination, and then on your little kind of icons on the left side, you change the power away from shields or lasers up the grav drive, and then it does like a countdown. So the reason it does that is you can't just blast out there if you're in a fight. You have to like actually like balance your systems, like lessen your shield to be able to do a grav jump essentially.
I've been leaving immersion on the table.
I mean, it's like Richie said, it's still not the greatest solution. It's much easier and quicker, and unfortunately encumbering to jump into the menu and just go tick tick tick. Done. Send me to that planet. But
yeah, I think the best way I can describe Starfield for me is it's like a patchwork quilt of really great experiences, but there's that disconnect between every patch. I think, like, you know, like the planets are really nicely designed. I love how detailed they are with like items. Like, there's just like spirit levels, like resting on flat surfaces and like stuff like that. I love that level of detail, but it just feels like everything's everything's just a bit disconnected.
Yeah,
and I think if they were working on maybe a different, I know like the creation engine isn't the same creation engine that kind of Skyrim was built on in the same way that,
but it feels like it though.
Well, in the same way that in the same way like Unreal 3 isn't the same as Unreal 5. Like the engine's iterated, and I get that, but it feels like they were limited on a lot of the things they want to achieve because of that, I guess.
My thing is, the one thing I was kind of saying in the run-up is like, I hope it isn't just Skyrim in space, and I think it is absolutely just Skyrim in space, but I still really like it.
Yeah, again, like all the criticism I'm leveling at, like, does not take away from the fact that it is a time sync game, which I'll.
Yeah.
I think the ultimate thing you have to decide is, do you enjoy? Are you enjoying the experience? And for me, the answer is yes. But do I think it's a great game? I think probably not. I think it would have been a great game 5 years ago. But there's just stuff in there that's just not quite as good as it could be. You mentioned the level up system. I'm not overly fond of it, actually. I think it's too dumbed down. You're missing that initial like kind of set of stats, like strength and endurance, that sort of stuff, which helps a lot with, I think, in terms of customizability. But I think Skyrim kind of started doing away with it, and they went even further. And it's like, but I like them things in there.
See, the reason I like it is because you have to actively engage in the skill you're trying to level.
I like that bit of it. I do like that bit.
So say for example, like I'm like a pistol gunslinger type character. So I can't just suddenly kind of flip to be a assault rifle guy just by dumping a lot of like skill points in the stats. I like the way you have to do the challenges to kind of essentially your skills reflect your playstyle as opposed to the other way around.
It's for me. It's going back to the old style where you used to have attributes and skills. So skills would be like, he's your longsword or he's your rifle. Like I like that being like as you use it, them leveling up. But I think attributes I prefer to be able to. Well, in the older Bethesda games, if you leveled up, for example, longsword, that would count towards you could put more points into strength. Same with like heavy armor, like light armor, you could put more into agility, that kind of thing. So it was kind of a bit organic. But you still had you still could make choices, which could help a lot of people with the encumbrance issues.
Yeah, I agree. Like,
encumbrance, I don't think it's actually that bad.
Well.
I think the encumbrance is. I mean, I think you need a lot more headroom straight out the gate. I think that's the main problem. But I think the way it works, it's not like suddenly you go 1 kilo over and now you can't move like in other games. I like how it just like. Even if you're encumbered and you just move around slowly, your O2 doesn't go down. So it's more. These are kind of linked in quite well. These different systems.
Yeah. How many of those like golden statues did you pick up in the first area? Do you like the little desk?
Oh, everything I had, like anything that looked remotely cool that I'd want in my own office. I was like, oh, I'll have that little model. I'll have
like those desk assistants.
Yeah, the little pod speakers. That's like essentially the Amazon Echoes or something. Like, yeah, I'll have one of them. I'll have 2 of these. I'll put them all in my ship, and then I couldn't move all of a sudden. Yeah, there's a few quality of life things. I think Ree and Richie were talking about it on Thursday's stream that. Even just give the option to toggle. Like, does me having encumbrance impact me playing the game at all, other than I have another inventory thing to deal with? No. So if I could just toggle it to no encumbrance, that would I feel like that wouldn't really change the story or the exploration. It just means I don't have to keep stopping off and selling shit all the time, which I guess feeds into your credit value, like how you get some credits, but you're essentially also being a thief at the same time. So,
but. Yeah, what you'll find though is what I'll do a lot is I'll just do multiple trips to loot everything that I want from area. So it's just more of a time sink rather than affecting the economy. No, it's not.
This is why it's
like. I think it'd be less controversial if you just had a lot more headroom right from the beginning, so you could carry more stuff.
Yeah, because he doesn't have a big space backpack, does he? It's just got that little jetpack thing. It's like, where is all this going? Even with like little encumbrance, that's like us walking around with one of those big festival bags on our back that's got like a week's worth of living in it. It doesn't really work. So if it's like people have said, I've seen online saying like, oh, it's immersion breaking because of the encumbrance. It's like, well, realistically, you're in a spacesuit. You don't have like pockets and shit. you like safe in there. And the other thing you mentioned was the CO2 thing, the sprint gauge. It's like 5 seconds, then all of a sudden you're losing health because you're sprinting. Like, none of us, I mean, not counting you, Rob, but I see me and Richie around on a Monday night playing football. We're not the fittest of individuals, but I can run more than my character can of Fallout, was supposed to be this space exploration, hardened miner and stuff, and yet 5 seconds in he's losing health because he's had to sprint for more than 10 seconds.
Well, this leads into what I was saying before about stats. This is where something you could increase your endurance, so you could have, if you had that more customizability, so then it'd customize how you play it, so you put points into stats that suit how you want to play. But that's unfortunately not there. And again, I think it's similar with that. It's just giving you more headroom right from the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, then it's less impactful.
All things said and done, though, I'm having a great time. My first Bethesda game. It's actually given me a bit of an itch to go maybe check out Fallout or something, because the concept of Fallout probably appeals to me a little bit more than the sci-fi element does. And obviously that's like very well revealed, so like why wouldn't you?
Yeah, to be honest, you won't notice much of a difference in terms of
looks the same engine.
Like in terms of mechanics, there's not much difference, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I keep calling it. Everyone keeps referring to it as like Skyrim in space. It's more Fallout in space.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a lot of reviews say it was more. Again, I haven't played Oblivion, but they said it was closer to. I think Phil Spencer actually said it was closer to Oblivion than it was Fallout for him, anyway. But I don't know what that means. So
but I think like to wrap up, this is a game that came out on Game Pass, and every single title on Game Pass for me has a very much disposable element to it. Like if I wasn't enjoying Starfield for whatever reason, I'm losing nothing by just moving on with my life. You know, but I don't have to like sink hours in the game to justify a £70 cost, and I'm not moving on from it. So regardless of all the criticisms I've mentioned, at the end of the day, I'm still playing it.
I think we can basically agree.
Free.
Yeah, I think we basically agree that it could be better. Wish it was better, but still loving it.
Yeah, and in terms of Microsoft and Xbox as well, as this has been like a huge success for them already. I think after one day of a full release, it passed 1 million concurrent players, which. Sales are always going to be a murky thing with Xbox now. They've not reported sales numbers for a whole generation and a half now because they were so far behind with the One. They just didn't release anything to do with it, so they've kind of followed that. But now Game Pass has become such a significant part of their business model. We also probably won't learn, but they will come out with these crazy statistics. So it was 1 million on launch, concurrent players, which is crazy good. And then Bethesda, the actual Starfield Twitter channel page, X, formerly known as whatever the hell. I'm just still going to call it Twitter. As of this morning, which was on Saturday, they said over 6 million Starfield players. That's 6 million people who've jumped in and played it. And I do feel like the marketing hype behind it is done well, and this is a big win for Xbox and Game Pass. I guess as we round out our Starfield conversation, I do want to ask, though, is first-party games, now this is the first big one, is it the right decision to have them on Game Pass? Because you've got to imagine, if there's 6 million people playing, if this was a $70 title or a £70 title, is that loss in like cash injection worth it for Microsoft? Because will they get any? Are they going to see and they're not going to see like a 6 million jump up in Game Pass users? But then how many people would only keep it for maybe the month or 2 months? Like, is this enough to keep people hanging around on Game Pass, or would they have been better taking the 6 million times $70?
I think the model they're going for is more of a steady stream of income rather than these big spikes, where I think they probably would have earned more money overall by just releasing Starfield as is on but there again you'd have a lot less players playing, and then it also would then water down the concept of Game Pass.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think what they're using these big temple titles are, these are the games that you activate your Game Pass subscription for. And then while you're in Game Pass, you explore other stuff that makes you truly understand the value of it and keeps that subscription active.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a mistake. I think they could make more money out of this game itself, but probably less money overall.
I think
it depends how it plays out.
Yeah, I think for me, it's it's the right move for Xbox. If Nintendo or Sony did this, it would be completely stupid. But Microsoft doesn't need cash. Microsoft needs market share, and this is the better route to market share, I think.
Yeah, it's a great point, Rob. It's obviously we'll never know because there's no alternate world where we'll be able to see what would have happened if otherwise. But this is, I think, the beginning. I think it was Pete Hines was saying over the Gamescom weekend, basically saying this is going to kickstart Microsoft's first-party game every quarter. So this is the first one. So we've got Forza coming next quarter, which is the next one. Then my guess is we're going to see something in the back end to January time. Who knows what that may Avowed, whichever one of them's ready to go next. But essentially, this should be the beginning of Microsoft having that big one every quarter. And then if they can fill that gap with second party. So remember, Lies of P comes out next week, I think. So that's if all things are said and done from test players in the demo, that's going to be another huge title, and that's also coming later on this month. So
I think Lies of P is going to be a hit from what I played of the demo.
Yeah. So all that being said and done, arguably the best month ever for Game Pass. Because it just has to be, right? Yeah. Just by default. And we can't shrug at the money they made from the early access as well. There was a bunch of people who dropped £30 to get in there a week early, and that was kind of part of the hype, right?
Yeah, I think that's probably the trick. Yeah. That's the model. That's the trick, because they can offset the lesser initial sales they get from just selling this game outright by an early access model, but then it also feeds into Game Pass as well, so it works. And they get the double dipping basically.
Yeah. They have the cake and eat it a week early.
And you get that creator hype a week before it comes out, right?
Yeah, you get to see it. There is that allure. I was part of that. You see one of your streamers, or you hear someone talking about it, and then you go, "Oh, it is only £30, or it is only $30." If you get them at the right time of the month, it's so much less than you're used to paying for a AAA first party game that you go it does feel, because of Game Pass you are getting it. I feel like I got Starfield for £30. which I didn't because I was going to get it if I just waited a week, but I wanted it, and it's like that they've got 30
It's
quid
such an interesting trick on kind of pricing psychology.
It is. It really
will be
is.
a case study in business books in the future, I think.
Yeah, and I was actually talking to some work colleagues about Game Pass, and they're not gamers, it's like explaining the model of it and what it is and why it's important. And part of it was like, imagine Netflix, where you've got all your cycle of like movies that come into it and they rotate in and out. However, imagine if Netflix got like Barbie day one release, Oppenheimer day one release, the Mario Brothers movie day one release. It was like, that's kind of the Game Pass model, where you're getting these cycle of games with these huge big hitters day one, when you would have otherwise had to go to the cinema, buy a ticket, pay full price, and then wait. So you don't have to do that. And it's just talking about that model is, it's such a... I think Microsoft, I think you're right, Rob, they're the only ones who could have done this because of like the cash value they have in the banks. They're not really worried about it. But because they're in last place, they've kind of had to do something different. And it's such an interesting thing to kind of see over the next decade or so how it plays out. But the games do need to be good. And thankfully, even though everyone's not happy with Starfield getting a 7 is a good game on a lot of people's review scale. Yeah. So go have it. And with it being Game Pass, it's probably going to be supported for like the next decade plus anyway. So it's going to improve. It's going to get better.
Yeah. I'd personally give it an 8 rather than a 7. But one thing I do want to call out, though, is the Washington Post giving it a 4 out of 4. That's just immoral.
So I know Discord
no one should ever read the Washington Post until they fix that.
What's your bugbear with it? You don't like 4s?
It's intentionally obtuse. They're trying to be different. That's all it is. Everyone else is rating out of 5 or 10 out of 100 these nice numbers. 4. Like...
Wait, so you don't mind that's being given a perfect score?
No,
you care
it's quite subjective. If a lot of people, I care if it's 4.
But objectively, out of 4 is stupid.
Yeah. Like how many people are giving it a 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5? That's all fine. 4 out of 4 is not.
I mean, how much do you normally consume the Washington Post, Richie?
Never.
For you to boycott it now.
They're not selling them yet. I'm calling for a boycott in a newspaper I've never read, but I'm definitely not going to read it until they sort this. Horrendous act of cruelty.
Their analytics stats are going to be devastated now.
Well, no one going there. As I said in our Discord server, I just rate them by bananas and peels. That's what you go by. Something very, very different. Speaking of our Discord server, by the way, you guys, if you're listening, watching along at home on your podcast preference of choice, you can, of course, get in with that fantastic conversation about bananas and terrible review rating systems, and more importantly, Starfield chat. If you're watching this, you're a big Starfield fan, or you're just starting the game maybe this week, we've got an entire dedicated channel, and everyone's talking about it in there, and then ironically, also in the Xbox channel and also in the general channel, because that's all people have been talking about all week, no matter what they want to do. So that's description in the link below. But gentlemen, let's get into the bulk of the main show. Of course, we've got our Starfield. We've aired our grievances. We've aired our compliments out. Let's get into the thick of the show. So, Rob, if you could introduce us to the
graciously gathered GamerGuild Gazette, aka the news.
The news.
Of course.
I had to read the notes for that one. I forgot it existed.
I had a sneaky suspicion with the lean in. It was like, oh shit, where's it at in the document? Where's it at? Of course, the news is brought to you by our wonderful guild heroes, the fantastic members of our channel who support us that extra little bit further, just like you can. You can support us from as little as 99p, and you get early access to this very show, fancy stickers and badges next to your name, and of course, our love and support. We couldn't do this without you, so thank you to all of our guild heroes out there. Right then. News, gentlemen. Big news coming out of Gamescom, funnily enough. Delayed, a lot further delayed than it actually was because Gamescom was like a fortnight ago now, it feels. Apparently, the Nintendo Switch successor, probably known as the Switch 2 for now until we get anything official, was shown off behind closed doors to developers and Nintendo's partners, apparently, which... It's been rumoured for quite some time. They're looking for possibly an arrival at the beginning of next year. If we remember, the original Switch launched in March, if I'm not mistaken. Albeit that was like 8 years ago now. So everyone's very much feeling we're overdue for the next entry level. A lot of people thought it was going to come with Zelda. It didn't. So then, I guess, gentlemen, I want to open the floor up to talk about what we want to see from a Nintendo Switch 2 and... what games do we think it'll launch with? Because you've got to go big with something, right? So, Richie, you're our default facto Nintendo guy. Nintendo Switch 2, do you think it'll be called that? And when do you think we'll see it?
I think it could be called that, but if they call it a Switch 2 or Super Switch or something along them lines, they have to make it clear that this is a new product. This is where they got into the problems with, I think, with the Wii U. The Wii U, I think, was people just went, oh, it's just the Wii again. but it was actually a very different concept.
Yeah.
Of a console. Actually, if you think about it, the Wii U is closer to the Switch than it was to the original Wii in terms of what it is as a console.
The Wii U had to die for the Switch to be born.
Yeah, if you look at what the Wii U is, and you look at the Switch and go, you can see the logical progression there.
Yeah.
I think I doubt I'm alone in this. I think what we want from a Switch 2 is just a better version of the Switch. Full backwards compatibility, just better in every way. Better screen, better battery life, better more ergonomic Joy-Cons, better quality Joy-Cons, so you don't have that dreaded drift. More power under it. Just take everything that the Switch is and just elevate it in every single way you can. I think that's... And if ideally you can have it still fully compatible with things like your current set of Joy-Cons, with your current dock. So then it's like, okay, so it's more of a Switch Pro rather than a Switch 2, ideally.
Mm-hmm.
Then I would be absolutely over the moon for that.
Yeah, I do like the idea of it being called the Super Switch, though, just to hark back to the SNES and everything, just back to those days. It's an interesting one you say about, like, obviously everything just needs to be made better. The Switch this time around is releasing into a market that has things like the ROG Ally and the Steam Deck, like, are being very, very vibrant and popular out there, and can run, like, the Steam Deck can run, like, PS5 games, like Horizon and stuff, like, gorgeously well. So I think that's what people are starting to feel with the Switch, is that it is at its limits now. It's been dragged out, and it's getting old ports and stuff, but it's struggling to run games that, like, came out on the 360 and everything, because it's just...
I think Pokemon was Pokemon very much exposed its weaknesses. Zelda ran a lot better, but was still chugged a little bit in places. It feels like the hardware is holding back the games at this point, where that's why I think it's time for a Switch 2, because you don't want your hardware holding back the creative element of the games. I don't think a Switch 2 needs to be absolutely blazing fast, competing one for one with the Series X and the PlayStation 5. But I think it needs to be... I'd say, yeah, if you can get hit minimum, at least like kind of the level of a PS4 and the Xbox One X. Ideally, maybe a PS4 Pro level of hardware.
Mm-hmm. I'd go with that.
Chris Frozen.
Not on my end. Is Rob? I don't know.
Yeah, a little bit.
Have I? A little bit? Can you hear me?
You sent me back. Yeah.
Yeah.
All good on my end.
All good on your end. Is like, okay. So yeah, I think if you can get to the point where it's like as good as if you could run like a PS4 game on like a PS4 like quality mode on the Switch too, that I think that's the sweet spot, because I think you have to be realistic. Nintendo are not going to be the ones to push the limits of the hardware. I think they understand that, because most of their users are a younger audience. They want to keep the price point down a bit and focus more on games. You look at like Mario games and stuff like that. They don't need to be the most graphically intense experiences ever to get the same level of enjoyment out of them. So yeah. That's what I've done.
In terms of the games as well, I think Nintendo's done such a good job at building a player base now. Like, the Switch has sold like over 110 million units, I think. So like, where the Wii U absolutely killed their player base, this is had such a resurgence. You've also got to wonder how much third-party games they miss out on because the Switch can't handle it. Like, how many times do Ubisoft and stuff maybe come to Nintendo and go, we'd like to port X new title across, but looking at your hardware, we just can't do it. We don't have like the time or the manpower to reduce our game, compress it down to the Switch level of quality without the actual finished product suffering a little bit. And going forward with the likes of the Call of Duty deal that Microsoft made with them, you ain't getting the latest Call of Duty to run on this Switch at all, unless you want to take 10 years trying to optimize it. It ain't going to work. So I also wonder how much a new, more powerful Switch will open the door up to us actually just getting just more games in general. Like, I hate looking at my Switch store and seeing those like 10 shitty 99p puzzle games and stuff that like they obviously they're okay on there, but it should be Ubisoft games, it should be EA games, but they're not there because can't run on the Switch. Yeah, as well as the other crap that can just sink to the bottom. But the storefront should be the best of the best. Instead, it isn't, because the Switch has their own games and the occasional third-party title. So it's like it would be interesting to see.
I'd like to see them actually design cloud gaming into a Switch 2 right from the get-go, so they've got your decent enough network card, everything it can run smoothly. Because that can sometimes, I think, with a Switch, be what could bridge the gap. So, like, let's say, like, a new EA title comes out, and the Switch 2 is going to struggle a little bit. You can use cloud gaming to get it on there, to get a better performance out of it, to kind of bridge that gap on titles that'll need it.
Yeah. And I guess the best thing to cement that as an example for us, Richie, would you probably play and buy FIFA, or soon to be EA Sports, on the Switch if it was the current version? Because you could take it around with you then. You don't have to watch it on the TV.
No, because I don't tend to play. I personally don't tend to play games on the move that often. However, when I was on holiday, something like FIFA could have been nice to sit in an airport playing. Mm-hmm. But I also have a Razer Kishi, so I can strap that to my phone. So there's alternatives I'd go for first, rather than playing that on the Switch. But that might just because I've never really played a FIFA game on a Nintendo console, because I've always been an inferior version.
The legacy, FIFA legacy.
Yeah, it could just be a legacy thing, like. But
it's bad. How about you, Rob? Then, what are you expecting to see from the Switch 2? Anything different, or more importantly, what do you think they should launch with?
I think it's exactly as Richie said, it's performance updates, and I wouldn't sniff at like an OLED screen on it.
There's a Switch OLED.
Yeah, but this is Nintendo, remember? So like, I feel like...
Yeah, the OLED didn't come until well after the original.
Yeah. So
I'd say that's the standard now. Like, the Switch 2 should just have an OLED screen. It should be better than the Switch OLED.
Yeah, but the issue is with... I agree with you where I'd say like a better network card, better performance, but all that has to be balanced with a sensible battery life, and I think that's going to be the crux of what they can do, to be honest. It has to be backwards compatible. I don't see a way that doesn't work for them. But again, this is Nintendo, and every generation it seems like they have to make a pretty bad mistake in terms of hardware. So there's nothing really more to add in terms of what I want from it. I don't have a Switch, so like this is all kind of relatively new to me. Maybe this is the thing that gets me into it. I'm not sure.
What would they have to do to convince you then, to make you see it and go, "Oh shit! Like I need this day one."
Like they need to do something that pulls me into a wider ecosystem of games, because I'm not particularly big on Zelda. Pokemon doesn't really do it for me. So if I do want a portable gaming device, it has to beat out the Steam Deck, which is a tall order at the moment.
Yeah, especially with all the PC stuff. Basically, what they need to do, Rob, is bring up like a legacy collection of PC games that you play from the 90s and go, they're all portable, optimized for the Switch. Here you go. Here's your Command and Conquer. Here's your
that would be perfect for me.
In that sense, so if you're not interested in Nintendo's first parties and you're only using it as a third party device, you probably are just better off with a Steam Deck or something like that.
Yeah, probably.
So the advantage of a Nintendo system is for Nintendo's first party games.
Mm-hmm.
I want a sensible name as well. Sensible name, which again isn't a given with Nintendo. Like if they call it like the Switch, if they call it the Switch with two eyes or something, it's going to go down the same like route as the Wii U.
I think the Wii and the Wii U are the weird ones. Every other Nintendo console's made sense.
Made sense.
Like,
yeah, but that's like saying like in the past 2 decades. Like Nintendo hasn't got it right.
Yeah. 2 attempts at it, yeah. The Wii, the name thankfully didn't make it suffer, but yeah, the Wii U was like such an odd naming convention. To like, why would you put a random letter at the end of?
Yeah, I mean, I worked in a game shop at the time, and I didn't get it.
Yeah, was it Wii for like Wi-Fi? Like,
I don't know.
What,
I don't even know.
Wireless because of the control, the nunchucks and stuff. I don't know. I'm sure that it was explained at some point, and some guy came out and like explained it all, and everyone in the audience just went.
If you have to explain the naming system, it means you've named it poorly.
Yeah. Can we all agree that PlayStation was just Sony nailed it on the head the first time they did that? It was like,
you mean Nintendo named it on the head because they're the ones who named it?
Well, didn't go.
This Nintendo PlayStation. What it was going to be?
Well, I lost out on that one, didn't I? That's all the good ideas out the back.
I mean, I think that falling out between Nintendo and Sony's worked out for the best for everyone, really.
Yeah.
Now we have 2 different platforms that we can fall in love with the games on, rather than just one. So
games then, gents. What did they launch with? It's been a while since we've had Mario Odyssey. Was what, 7 years ago? I think to kill this, like not kill it, like to launch, like absolutely nail it, would be new Mario 3D game, Mario Odyssey 2, whatever that needs to be, and then if they really want to come out swinging, next Mario Kart. The Mario Kart.
Nah, just do Mario Kart 8 again.
I mean, that,
just
yeah,
do
just
it again.
deluxe. Just bring it out. But I think, yeah, everyone's going to want that packing game. And unless they go down, like, the Wii Sports route and do, like, some dodgy sports thing built into it, I think, yeah, either a Mario Kart 9 or...
They tried that
Odyssey.
with the Switch, with 1-2 Switch, because it wasn't packed in, no one bought it.
1-2 Switch.
What about a Super Metroid remake?
There's Metroid Prime 4's
Yeah, that's
being
in the
announced,
ether,
but
isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, so that could be an interesting, like, if you go like Mario, he's just like Mario. I can't go wrong with like a Mario game as your launch title. Metroid as a kind of like darker, like more adult, slightly game. Mm-hmm. Something like Mario Kart or one of their party games in there. I think that's a pretty decent launch title.
Yeah, and then, like I said, if it's got more hardware, it could essentially, depending on when it launches, it could launch with some big third-party games baked in as well. Like, they usually have deals with the Ubisoft and stuff to bring... Yeah, you never know. You never know what it's able to run. So we'll obviously have to see on that one. Do let us know in the comments below what you guys would want to see out of a Nintendo Switch, or more importantly, what you'd like to see at launch as a title. Anything jumping out to you, do let us know. But yeah, it's finally, I guess... It's got to be soon, right? Do you think they could get it out before Christmas, or are we too late in the year now for that?
I think it's next year.
Yeah, it must be next year.
Think March, same as the original, maybe then? Or is that too soon? Because
I'm thinking second half of the year.
if they've got dev kits out to people now, you've got to imagine like they're creaking closer to it. If that's like if they're willing to show it off to partners and stuff, like that is the beginning of the end, right? For a launch cycle.
Yeah, but they'll be wanting partners to start developing games for it, so they'll see it. They'll see it sooner than we get it. So I'm thinking maybe I think they'll want it out before Christmas next year.
Yeah, I think if we go another year and don't get it, because again, back to what we said about, we thought Zelda would have been like that. I would have thought Mario Wonder would have been a great launch title that comes out later this month, next month. But
And if they'd officially announced it alongside Mario Wonder, I'd say it's out this year.
yeah,
But the fact that we've announced Mario Wonder without mentioning it means that I think Mario Wonder is probably going to be the last hurrah for the Switch, where everyone thought that was going to be Zelda.
Yeah.
It feels like Mario Wonder is going to be that last probably big game.
Mm-hmm.
And then next year, I think you'll probably hear about it, the Switch, probably early next year, February maybe.
I think that's why my money's on like kind of the springtime, like the original Switch, just because of, like I said, they're running out of games. We don't know what's coming next, and the next big entry would seemingly be the next Mario game, the 3D one.
Yeah.
And if that's imminent, then the console has to come in part with it. We should mention behind the closed doors where they did show it off. Apparently, it was running a modified version of Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild.
Yeah,
it was one of the two, but there's no
I could see
confirmation
Tears of the
yet.
Kingdom being a launch title for it, as like he's an improved version of Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, like Game of the Year edition, perhaps.
Game of the Year edition is running at 60 frames per second, and it's running a solid 1080p, probably with HDR on an OLED screen in the handheld mode.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Because that's what you can use to show the comparison between them, and then you have your new Mario games, etc.
To fill it out, indeed. Well, speaking of things running at a good frame rate, Richie, we're finally getting the news that development is underway for a port of Final Fantasy 16 over to PC. So live all its glory, run around with Clive and his motley crew in the world of Valisthea, I want to say it was pronounced as it's coming across. But more importantly, we've also had confirmation, even though they said they weren't going to do it, of 2 paid DLC installments for Final Fantasy 16 that'll be coming in the future. Probably a while off yet, because my guess is they weren't planning on it, and then you can't just start something up from scratch and have it out by the end of the week. It has to go in the oven for some time. Richie, you haven't started this game yet?
Nope.
Because you've just got behind on everything. I was saying on Thursday, Rob, to Richie, would you, if at the beginning of the year we told you that I'm sat here with the Platinum Trophy for Final Fantasy 16 and Richie hasn't even started it yet, would you have believed that?
No, this is some like cursed timeline. I think we're off. Like we're not on canon events anymore. I don't think.
Absolutely not. Now,
It's just the way the year's panned out, and
I have to throw this over to you though, as the Final Fantasy guy with that DLC. they've got an interesting history with DLC, because I think, was it 15 was mad with, like, the story wasn't really finished in the game, and then they sacked the DLC off in the end. They, like,
15 was so bad, I have the Platinum Trophy in it and a 50% completion rate.
So a lot went wrong, I think, with that, the rollout, and that's, I think, maybe why they had more reservations about this one. And I, for one, having finished it and absolutely thoroughly love the story, it's probably still my game of the year so far, which says a lot about it. I'd love some more DLC. Like, I know they've joked about, like, a Final Fantasy, is it 10-2? They do, like, a sequel, but with a number at the end, so, like, a 16-2. Everyone loves the world, everyone loves the characters, the combat, everything like that. One of my big downsides is when they finally do get around to announcing Final Fantasy 17, am I going to look at it and go, oh, it's nothing like the one I enjoyed, it's new people, it's a new place, it's a different theme and everything. And is that just going to turn me off, or am I now in on Final Fantasy? I'm not too sure. That will come. But with the DLC, I've heard some of the DLC is fantastic. So, 2 paid DLC installments, what should I expect in terms of size, scope? Am I out about side quests? Like, how should I be approaching this DLC when it does arrive?
I actually have no idea, because the traditional Final Fantasy games were kind of in the era before DLC. I think 15 might be the first one that got any sort of major, like, DLC, and that was largely just filling out the story that they hadn't finished when they launched the game. So, as someone who hasn't played the game, it's quite hard to fully kind of speculate. I imagine maybe there's new Aeons in there. Is it Aeons? No, it's not Aeons. Icons. What are the summons called? Icons. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Aeons was 10. The new icons. They'll bring in, like, a new. I've heard rumours of Leviathan could make an appearance, because I'm guessing Leviathan isn't in the game.
That word means.
So there's probably some, like, well-known summons who didn't make the cut for 16. You could build it around them.
Interesting. I think,
but I couldn't say.
For finishing the game, what I would like to see is just, there's a few characters in there who I would be quite happy to just spend more time with them. I don't necessarily even need a new, like, maybe section of the world. Obviously, they'll probably do that. They'll probably open up a new area or something for you to travel to. Because the way the map works out, they could easily just add a couple more map points. Because you can't travel, you can travel between them, but they could quite easily just add something in. Like I said, new boss fights or whatever like that, and a small plot line, because there's enough narrative threads throughout the game to be able to link it all in. But
they could potentially do, like, a prequel thing where you play as some other one of the characters you meet throughout the game, where I don't know, I'm guessing there'd probably be some character you've met through the way and go, oh, it'd be interesting to hear more about that guy's backstory that doesn't really cover. You could do that kind of thing.
Oh, there's a few early doors who I definitely want to see kind of how they got to where they are in Clive's story in this game.
And that'd be quite interesting way, because then if it's been a while since you played the game, you're not suddenly going in at max level and stuff like, oh, how do I play this game? Because you're starting with a fresh character.
Indeed. Did you get to 16, Rob?
I didn't. So my kind of
you fake Final Fantasy fans, both of you.
Honestly, it kind of stops at 12. 12 was the last one I kind of really, really enjoyed. And when they switched to the new combat system in 13, was it 13? 13 was Lightning, right?
I don't know.
I think so. Yeah, I think 13 was the one where they introduced the...
12 was the first MMO, wasn't it? And then 14's the one that's still going as an MMO.
14's like online, isn't it? That's the big one.
No, wait, 12...
Anyone want an ice cream?
Yeah, okay.
Wasn't 12... oh, God.
The one after 11.
12 was Damascus, wasn't it? I don't know, whatever.
Don't know.
There was, like, the last kind of 10-based version, I think. I played whatever, but I just couldn't get by on the combat system with whichever one was Lightning's game, because it felt too automated, and I never went back to it after that. And I think my love of Final Fantasy is in the classic titles as opposed to the new ones. I'm not saying they're bad games; it just doesn't speak to me like they used to.
Well,
I mean, the Pixel remasters are selling well.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. You've kind of got the old stuff to go back to, and it's such a risk-reward business model. I know we spoke about Game Pass's business model, but the fact Square Enix just come out and, like, do a different thing every time is like, is that not, like, a bad decision? Because then you essentially risk pissing off your fan base or upsetting. You've seen how many people came out with 16 and said, oh, it's too action heavy. And for me, I was like, oh, that's great, that's what I prefer. But then you've got all your older ones who go like, it's not Final Fantasy for me. Not my Final Fantasy. It's a bit of an interesting choice, but seemingly it's working out for them because it's sold millions, just like the Pixel remasters have. and it's doing great. One thing, however, gents, which isn't doing great is Skull and Bones. Here we are, once again, on the Skull and Bones.
Who knew this game wasn't going to do well?
Who knew? Reading from an IGN article, Skull and Bones is suffering yet another breach in its hull as Ubisoft's long-delayed pirate game has lost its third creative ice cream truck director. According to reports from Kotaku, creative director Elson Pellan has left Ubisoft Singapore to return to Paris headquarters earlier this summer. She had been working on Skull and Bones since 2018, and it marks, as I said, the third time they've lost the creative director. I'm not going to go into the rest of the story of who she was and what she was, but Ubisoft stated Skull and Bones was going to be due some point in fiscal year 23-24, but now rumours are behind the scenes that that's not even set in stone still. So I don't think we need to lament too much on the story, but just my word, this game is like cursed. It has a black spot curse like from the Muppets Treasure Island on it that they just can't shake off. And dear me,
they're at a point where I can't see how this game will be good. When you have so much problem, have we ever known a game that had such problem development? And when it came out, everyone had, that was worth the wait. Somehow you navigate. You like sailed the stormy seas, but you got to the treasure at the end. It does not feel like this is going to be. It feels like this is a sinking ship, and they should probably, in some ways, might be better off just sending it out into the world and just going, look, it is what it is. You're going to hate it. It's going to get 5s and 4s out of 10s, and then we can actually just move on from this game.
I think it's getting to that point where they need to make a deal with Game Pass or something along those lines, because it's either this. You're not gonna like this. Remember, this is a £70 title. Like, they want people
Microsoft
to pay.
wouldn't do that because of Sea of Thieves.
But they've also got the Ubisoft deal with them for Game Pass. It's kind of like you scratch our back, we'll scratch yours. So Ubisoft like, look, Xbox, this game's wank, but we need to get it out. How about you put it as a free game for the month of whatever on Game Pass? It'll entice more people to come across the Ubisoft Plus potentially. You'll get more people for that month who want to try it out. Because I think for Ubisoft, it's got to be free to play at this stage. Like, there's everything I'm reading and hearing and seeing from the gameplay and the beta testers is, if it's free to play, it takes that sting out of it, and they won't be reporting on sales numbers because it was a free game. And my word, that guy wants you to buy an ice cream today, Richie. Just go out and buy a damn ice cream. But yeah, it's just one of those where, I think free to play or something. PlayStation Plus. Throw it in for Ubisoft Plus for free and maybe entice a couple of people over to your subscription model, and maybe they'll hang around for like Mirage and other titles that are coming out. But my word,
I think free to play, if it's on PlayStation Plus and Game Pass for like the first month, so you can get a look to try and get that user base in, because everyone will be looking at it and going, I like the concept, but it's like, I don't trust this is going to be a good game. I don't want to spend the money on it.
Yeah,
and so it feels like even like engaging with Ubisoft Plus is like. It doesn't feel right for this game.
This might be old news for other people, but I didn't know that this game got lots of funding from the Singapore government.
That's why it has to come out, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know this until I looked into it, because I was like, why? I couldn't understand why they wouldn't just kill it. Like,
they've got like legal obligations, haven't they, to get this out. Yeah. Which, It's such an odd one, but it has such a bad development cycle. The only thing I can think of that's done well is Dead Island 2. Dead Island 2? The zombies?
Yeah, I think, Dead Island 2 is the only game that came back from hell.
Because that had like 3 developers that got passed from pillar to post, and that had about a 10-year cycle almost as well. And
but they also restarted, they completely restarted the development of the game. So, when we say 10-year cycle, it's more like a 5-year cycle with a 5-year cycle before that, which was just abandoned.
It does make you wonder how much money they pissed away in marketing. Like, when they did the Skull and Bones second reveal or something, and they said betas were going to go open. Because remember, this game was supposed to launch last November when God of War Ragnarok launched. Just keep emphasising that. It was supposedly due to be ready then. The amount of money they've already probably put into marketing campaigns, because I've seen the YouTube ads, I've seen the banners and stuff on websites, and then it still not came out. So it's like, that's just wasted money, right? It's just spent, gone, done. You've paid it, so sorry, Singapore government, you've been bent over a barrel on this one.
It's not even just wasted money, it's also having a detrimental effect, because it's pointing the spotlight on it when it doesn't need it yet. You don't want the spotlight on a game that's in a crisis. So they've put the marketing out there, instead of having a neutral effect, going, oh, it's getting delayed. People now looking, going, oh, this does not look good. Does not look good, Ubisoft. So I don't know.
I feel like Ubisoft would have a better chance of organising a civil war in Singapore, so the government forget about their obligation to Skull and Bones actually release a good game.
Well, they would organise that. But pivoting away then, speaking of the best way to market your game and the best way to get it out and having your cake and eating it is Sea of Stars and the success it's having. So not only did somehow Sabotage Studios convince Xbox to take it on Game Pass, so they got a ton of money from Microsoft. They convinced PlayStation to put it on PlayStation Plus, so they got tons of money off them. And not only that, it's somehow shifted 250,000 physical copies as well. Not physical copies, sorry, just copies sold, which they've got full pay for. So the game retails at like $28.99 or $34. They've also made 250,000 sales on that. My guess is the bulk of them are Nintendo Switch, because it's the only platform that it wasn't in a subscription service. But these devs have got to be just sit back laughing. Like, they got money from everyone and still money from direct sales, surpassing their it was their first projected year's sales was 100,000. They've now doubled that and the rest.
2.5 times your year's projected sales in like a week.
You got to be like, they must be just rolling in it.
Not a bad week. It's not a bad week, guys.
Richie, you played this on a live stream. It's up on the channel now for people to check out. The big question, though, now Starfield is out in the wild. How much more have you put in Sea of Stars, and are you going back and forth between the two?
Well, I haven't had time to go back and forth between them this week. Like Rob, I've just been busy, swamped with work. I have intentionally dropped this game, not because it's a bad game, because it's a good game.
Right.
Because I don't want to get halfway through the story, then something else takes my attention. And with Starfield looming, it's like I'm going to play Starfield the day it comes out. And I want to allow myself to get into Starfield, so I'm putting it aside for now, but I do intend to return.
I intend to return. Now, there are a few people in our Discord chat, which, again, you can join, link is in the description below, who have been saying that they're kind of almost bouncing between Starfield and Sea of Stars, because they are so completely different in all respects. Is they almost use like Sea of Stars as like a palate cleanser between hour-long binges in Starfield. I guess that's not my style. That's not how I like to do it. But it's interesting to think that they're both that good enough. People in our community are just happy to like chip away, having two on the go at one time.
If I had more time on my hands, I'd probably do something like that. But at the moment, I just like any time of gaming, I just want to throw into Starfield.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
did you check this
it's
one
weird
out
to say,
Rob?
I didn't. It's there waiting. It's just a matter of time and focus to put into it. Same as Richie, like. I feel like it's a game you have to really set aside a good amount of like gaming budget for, I guess is the word. Because I budget in time as opposed to money nowadays when it comes to gaming.
Yeah, it's the joys of being an adult.
Yeah.
It's too good for me to be a palate cleanser game. Something to play for an hour here and there when I'm a bit like bent out in Starfield. I want to experience this game properly.
Yeah, definitely. And again, like just you have to be so happy for the devs who kind of they know who their audience is. They've like worked really hard to make a fantastic game for that audience, and they're reaping the benefits for it. So more power to those guys.
Yeah, it's cracking stuff when you think about it, and from a business standpoint, just they must.
It's indie game of the year. I think they've nailed it.
Oh, interesting. What makes you say that? Just how good, polished, and
can you think of any other indie games that's had the same level of impact this year? This has come out to basically universal praise, 9s and 10s out of 10, left, right, and centre. It's engaging story, fantastic battle, great music. I think it's just absolutely nailed it.
Yeah, that's true. I was trying to think of anything else. I know I played Planet of Lana and stuff, which was good, but not like I've not seen that hype on this level. Do you think it's almost like unfortunate that it came out in such a busy year? Like again, like coming out mere days before Starfield has kind of maybe taken away what would have otherwise been more hype for it? Or do you think because it's a different
seemingly
type of game?
It hasn't though.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the sales are there to speak numbers for it, but then again, back to what we said at the beginning of the show about the Switch. Switch has a huge player base, and this is the type of quality that if you drop this on the Switch, because of how many people are there, and it's quintessentially like it looks like a classic Nintendo game as well, so it kind of it feeds to that audience too.
If I was to buy this game, I would buy it on the Switch.
Yeah,
I think that Switch is the best place to play. Will be the best place to play that, assuming it runs as smoothly as it does on PlayStation, Xbox, which I can't see that being a problem, to be honest.
That's the
irony. I've used it on PlayStation just because, as I said during my stream, I downloaded it on PlayStation rather than Xbox because my PlayStation was on standby, my Xbox was turned off, so I could download it while I was at work. That's the only reason.
Such a decision. I funnily enough, I have The Messenger, the previous game made by the studio, on the Switch. That was like a Switch purchase because it was a 2D pixel side scroller combat game, and it was like that. In my mind, that's what I play on like a handheld. So that kind of ticked that one off for me. But yeah, back to what you were saying, Rob, just the size of the studio. Like, I'm guessing it's only a small team. They must all be rich as anyone, like rich as kings now, just based on that, on those sales.
Even in terms of like, job satisfaction as well, like regardless of financial, like they're sitting on top of the world, and long may they enjoy the view.
You can just imagine like how they've put a lot of time, money, and effort, and like blood, sweat, and tears into this creative product, and they put it out in the world, and everyone went, "This is amazing! Well done, guys! Take my money, please!" And just like, so it's probably not even about the money because it's a small indie team. See, if you're like so money driven, you're probably not in the small indie team yet. Yeah, a small indie team because you want to for the creative licensing you have, the creative freedom. So for it to come out and with the praise it's been getting, that's got to be rewarding.
Oh, absolutely. And IGN give it an 8, which if you're going to go off IGN's scale, even though it was a different reviewer, that's 1 point better than Starfield.
As long as it's out of 10.
As long as it's out of 10 for Richie's benefit, yeah.
8 out of 8.
On
5's okay.
On OpenCritic,
okay.
Currently sitting at 99%. Which you can't get much better, really, can you? So, Sea of Stars, long may its success continue, and yeah, it'll have to be in our conversation for Game of the Year, or at least Indie Game of the Year. One of the titles moving over to, we got a final confirmation of, and probably won't be anywhere near Game of the Year conversation by nature of it being a racing game, is Codemaster/EA Sport World Rally Championship. It's got a November release date, and it's got a first trailer drop this past week as well. Now, we heard rumours about this coming soon, but the shock was, I guess, the turnaround time in the marketing and how long this game's got to come out. So this is Codemaster's first game since being acquired by EA, and it comes in the form of World Rally Championship from the Dirt Rally team. So perfect transition over to getting onto this one. I have such good memories of World Rally Championship. I want to say 2005, back on the PS2. There's something I have more fun in rally games than I do like your traditional motorsport style. There's something about just drifting on snow and sand and crashing into shit and going up and down bumps and bends. It's just more fun. I used to watch you used to get like compilation VHS tapes. My dad had a bunch of random rally videos where me and my brother just used to watch it, expecting the people in the audience to be ran over because, they stand so close to the edge of the damn track as these cars are flying over bumps, and it's like you're going to get your head knocked off. So there's that thrill and that risk, and just the skill level that goes into some of these like races. It's insane.
It's the teamwork as well. For
hairpin left, hairpin right. It's like, what?
It's mad.
I didn't know what that meant when I was a kid. What's a hairpin? I have short hair.
Like, how much faith must you have in like your co-driver to be able to just give those instructions and then keep reading the book as they essentially handle the life element.
When you think of like a rally course compared to like a normal racetrack, it's pretty predictable where crashes are likely to happen. Mm-hmm. So they can build like barriers and stuff in a way that, and like rumble strips and like the sand pits and stuff. You don't have that in the rally track because you're just on a mountain somewhere in a forest. If you crash, you're crashing into a tree.
Yeah, there's that famous Top Gear episode where they race a toboggan sledge down a slope with an Olympic team, and they do it in a rally car. And it's like you're on snow and ice going around corners. Where, as you said, Richie, you could just like die within seconds, and you trust in your machine and your co-driver is insane. But EA Sports. So again, that branding that they're going with now with all the titles, EA Sport, it's just WRC actually, it is World Rally Championship, but just WRC. It's going to feature 18 official FIA World Rally Championship locations across asphalt, gravel, snow, plus 78 vehicles licensed from Ford, Toyota, Hyundai, etc. There are currently 10 World Rally Championship 2 and junior vehicles, plus 68 iconic rally cars covering almost 60 years of the sport. It introduces a few new features like a dynamic handling system for the best off-road experience to date. Great looking title. I'll probably never play it, unfortunately.
One thing I do want to shout them out on the trailer is they've intercut gameplay with actual driving, and it's hard to tell which is which.
That is a compliment.
If you look very closely, you can start to see, okay, this looks kind of smoothed out in a way that real life isn't, but it is really hard to tell.
That's awesome. Either of you two, I'm going to know the answer. It's just not really for us anymore. As I said, it's something odd about when you grow up and you're able to drive yourself. Not that I drive my car like a crazy rally person, but we've all done donuts in car parks as a kid. We've all skidded on ice before. Either of you check this out, buy this, or is it just one of them that you'll just appreciate from a safe distance away from the roadside?
Yeah, I feel like the entire racing genre is just an enthusiast genre now. It's not particularly mainstream, is it, anymore?
No, I agree.
I think one day, this will come to EA Play on Game Pass, and that's probably when we'll look at it.
Yeah, we'll stream it, we'll have a great time, we'll have lots of laughs, and then we'll never go back to it, which is unfortunate.
Like every racing game we play, we enjoy them, never go back.
Yeah, it is that interesting. If I didn't work for it, that's the thing. If we didn't all have jobs and we just had infinite time to play, I'd probably dabble in a lot more variety in different genres, but because, like Rob said, currency is time, you have to just
optimize your game in time.
And I would rather put 6 hours into Starfield than do loops on a track and kind of have there's no story, there's no beats to it. As much as EA try and get story into the Need for Speed games, no one cares. No one cares about these street racer kids and their neon lights and their dump valves on their exhausts and shit. But I digress. Moving on to the next story of the week, Baldur's Gate 3, we should kind of point out, has had its PlayStation 5 release, which, thanks to the Xbox and the Series S parity law, it means it's an exclusive for console temporarily. One of the other biggest, massive titles of the year, in fact, is now out on PS5, and it's been described in early reviews as essentially running on ultra PC settings is the way to look at the game. So it's reviewing really, really well. It's got a Metacritic score of 96 still, with a user score of 7.7. It's going to be in a lot of people's Game of the Year conversations. And Richie, Baldur's Gate, now it's out on PlayStation 5. It's not in early access. Is this got in your sights, or is this a case of you just don't have the time? You've got commitments to Final Fantasy, Jedi Survivor.
I really want to play this game, but I don't know when I will. PS5 is actually getting a bit more enticing after trying to play Starfield on my PC, and I just couldn't handle it. But I do think it's a PC game for me. It feels like I'm a bit torn there. It's like this is the game that should be played on PC in my view, but if my PC can't handle it, PS5 can. So I don't know. I do want to play it. I just don't know when.
It does have cross-save, I believe, as well. So obviously you're not going to buy it twice, but at some point you could end up with it.
I mean, my ideal situation is this comes to Game Pass and Microsoft add mouse and keyboard support to Xbox Cloud Gaming, and then I'm sorted.
Jump around between it.
But yeah.
So such an odd one. Sometimes when
my brother's been playing this actually, and he said it's amazing. Yeah.
Interesting. Did you play Baldur's Gate 2 as well, back in the day?
Yeah, I've played Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 and Throne of Baal a lot with my brother. We've played through the whole story. Because you can carry your save from 1 into 2. And Throne of Baal was the DLC for 2, which kind of finished the story. So, yeah, he's having a really good time playing it. So, no.
I've seen a lot of people.
I trust his judgment in this game.
I've seen a lot of people say the Baldur's Gate trilogy is now possibly the best video game trilogy of all time.
It's definitely in there.
Which I never considered, because in my mind I can't even picture what Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 were. But then when I look back, all the scorings and all the reviews, people are like, yeah. And now this one's
they are cult classics.
Yeah.
The cult classics, and 3 seems to got the mainstream attention as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I think that for me, this is odds on for Game of the Year. I think it could be Baldur's Gate to take.
I would not want to be in like a professional manner voting on a Game of the Year this year. Just could you imagine? I know like at IGN and GameSpot and stuff, they kind of get all of the team together and they have to basically present to their colleagues why it is in the running for Game of the Year, because you've got things like some people didn't like Zelda this year because it's just not for them. But then you have that you need to come to some kind of voting solution. I
think what knocks Zelda down for me is it just feels like the next Breath of the Wild, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But it hasn't elevated the formula in Breath of the Wild that much. Mm-hmm. They've just done it again and done it really well. Baldur's Gate 3 it feels like it's standing alone in a genre at the moment, and then nailing it. On PC, it's 96 on Metacritic with 94 reviews.
Not bad.
96 on PlayStation 5, so it's like there's that consensus. Like, it's currently on Metacritic the highest rated game this year.
But yeah, I would
How many superb games are getting knocked out of the even contention for Game of the Year?
Well, I was thinking about this, Rob. I know, Richie, you've not got around to Jedi Survivor yet, but like early running, that was like my most hyped game for the year. And yeah,
I don't think it's in.
I'm sitting here now and I'm thinking it's getting put. Like even for me personally, like I've got Final Fantasy, and now I'm sitting on it more. I think I enjoyed Hogwarts Legacy more than Jedi Survivor, which is like it's maddening to say that out loud. But
is Hogwarts Legacy going to get overlooked a bit because it was at the start of the year, and the back end of the year has been so far so stacked that it's just dropped out people's consciousness?
Quite possibly,
but that should be. There was a good half of the year where I thought that was basically odds on to win.
Yeah,
and now I'm not even sure it's in the running.
Upset, right?
Yeah,
that would be an upset if that took it, I think.
Yeah, and then like I said, Zelda was like typical like Nintendo. Then we don't know what Mario Wonder's going to be like. Like Nintendo usually smash out the park with the Mario games too. So
Resident Evil 4,
yeah, that was this year.
Armored Core.
Yeah, Armored Core again. I feel like Armored Core's just faded in the background, even though again great reviews, FromSoft smashing out the park again, and yet it's probably like 7th, 8th on people's list, and yet in another year it would have been right in there. And we haven't even had Spider-Man 2 yet. Sony's biggest game of the year is yet to even launch. So, it's so relieving that we don't have to do this in any professional capacity, because I would not want to like go into that meeting and be like, look, I don't even want to make a decision myself. I don't really know. I'm thinking it's Final Fantasy, but could change still once we kind of sit together. But you, our lovely audience out there, will have to wait a few more months for that discussion, because we traditionally do our Game of the Year talk at the end of the year. We're not like, is it the Emmys and BAFTAs and stuff who do the awards ceremony like February, and you're like, oh, you just get out of here.
We try to do it as the last show of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell you what probably won't be in that conversation, Roblox, but it is finally making its way over to PlayStation in October. Roblox is one of those games for me, I just don't even know what it is. It's a massive game creation platform similar to Minecraft. It's hugely popular, but it did arrive on the Xbox back in 2015, and it was on PC much, much earlier than that. It has a massive, massive audience that is not in our age demographic. It's definitely the younger audience, to say the least. Finally coming over to PlayStation in October. Gentlemen, what took it so long?
I have no idea. I was surprised it wasn't already there.
If you told me it was, I would have been like, oh, yeah, of course it is.
I just kind of assumed it was there. But I've never went looking for it. But because I'm just not involved in Roblox and that ecosystem in the slightest. I've never played it. I've never seen anyone play it. I've never been interested in watching someone play it.
I don't even know like any of my family with kids who play it either. It's one of them. I just don't have any knowledge about this title whatsoever, and yet it has millions upon millions upon millions of kids playing it.
I think we're in that age range though, where there is kids around us a lot nowadays, but they're slightly too young for gaming still. So there's no I don't know many kids who are in the sort of age range where you would be playing Roblox yet.
So to give you a statistic as well, Epic Games' Tim Sweeney pointed out that Roblox has 250 million active monthly users this year, compared to Minecraft's 100, so more than double Minecraft. And in terms of Fortnite, which again in my mind I thought Fortnite was like one of the biggest ones ever, that only has 70 million. This is 250 million for something I have no knowledge of, which it just proves you that there's like pockets of the world out there that if you're not in those circles,
to put this in context, Starfield's had 1 million. 250 times the user base of Starfield.
250 million kids getting fleeced for...
That's probably my only knowledge.
But are they getting fleeced if they're enjoying themselves?
Doesn't Roblox get shit on for like predators and stuff being in there?
It is quite,
I think that's... Didn't PlayStation say in the FTC complaints meeting with Microsoft and stuff, it was about the reason they don't have certain titles is because they want to protect their audience? And Roblox is like one of the ones that came up, which it's fair.
Maybe
fair
they finally. Yeah, maybe they resolve the issues. Like, look, this is a game aimed purely at kids. It's got problematic stuff around predatory people and using the game. If you can resolve these issues, then we'll talk. Which is, to be fair, that's kind of ballsy for Sony to go, you know what, this is one of the biggest games in the world. We're earning an absolute ton of money, but we're not going to have it because kids aren't safe playing it. That's a good guy Sony decision, to be honest. Yeah,
it does say in the Eurogamer article as well regarding the audience. It said seemingly the audience is now aging up a little bit naturally with the game. So 38% of players are actually over this age of 17 now. So there are a lot of like young adults who are playing it, which I'm guessing if it's the best thing ever, you just keep playing it as you age up, like we do with like Pokemon and stuff. So Yeah, interesting one. I'm never going to check it out unless a few years' time my daughter gets into it somehow, but who knows? Who knows? Roblox coming to PlayStation in October. Let us know in the comments below if you, or maybe you play with your kids and you've seen it and you know what it is about. But moving on. Richie, Jedi Survivor.
Yes.
Are you ever going to play this damn game?
Yes.
You are.
I 100% intend to play this game, but with just all the games that have come out this year, we've already talked about how stacked it
I
this
feel like
year
all
is.
this show is me saying, Richie, why haven't you played this game yet? Richie, what's up with this game this year? Like, what have you actually played this year? There seems to be a window in the spring where me and Rob played games and you just didn't. I know you went to New York for like a week or a bit, but still, somehow you've just missed out on two huge
I do play games at a slower rate than you. We know that.
Richie plays games at 30 frames per second. I play them at 60.
Yeah, so it takes me twice as long to complete the game.
That's how it works.
I don't know. The way the cadence of me playing games is just quite a bit slower. And then if I've sometimes every free moment in my life isn't just spent playing games. I have other hobbies and interests.
I have a child.
Yeah, I know, but that's new.
That's not a hobby, is it?
It's not a hobby. It's a lifestyle.
Well, yeah. So sometimes in time that I would spend gaming, I might be playing guitar or playing piano or stuff. So there's like other stuff happens, but this is one of them games. It's one of the lower games that I definitely want to play this year, like in terms of the priority order. So that's why I just haven't got round to it. It's why I haven't actually even purchased it.
Well, it could be better for you.
I enjoyed Jedi Survivor, but I didn't love it the same way like you and Tom did.
Well, that's because you haven't played Jedi Survivor.
Jedi Fallen Order, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, well, good news for you anyway, because it's got a latest patch, which means you're probably going to get the best version of it. It's bringing a performance mode to consoles with a locked-in solid 60 frames per second, patches, bug features, everything like that to make it a cleaner experience, because it did get a little bit of shit early doors for just being problematic. Now, my playthrough, I don't know about you, Rob, but mine was pretty much fine. But I like one or two things where it chugged a little bit when there was water in the area.
Yeah, it was the water was the issue for me. Aside from that, I had no problems at all. There was a couple of parts where I clipped on like dodgy elements
the
on
usual
like, the parkour sections, but
I
had a relatively good experience on it.
Absolutely. I've definitely had a lot less bugs than I've already experienced in Starfield. If you're going to compare two sci-fi games, like this was pretty seamless. So yeah, I guess Richie, patience is a virtue, young Padawan, and you can play this at its absolute best when you do get around to it, and it'll be cheaper, right?
Yep. I have no idea how much it costs. So I'm going to actually look up on Amazon now what it is.
I think
it's
actually
Black Friday sale will crash the price.
It had a sale actually. I feel like some point I saw a promotion.
£45.
Yeah, there you go.
$45.95 on Amazon at the moment.
So yeah, not bad at all. But yes, Jedi Survivor out there, and I'm always curious with Star Wars games, like anything that's tied into television. We know from The Witcher, every time Star Wars stuff comes out, it kind of gets a boon in sales. So how many people now are watching Ahsoka this week, this month, and then go, you know what? I want to be a Jedi, and you can turn your lightsabers white in Jedi Survivor, and you could just go explore and have adventures with Cal, which again, when is this guy going to show up in these TV shows? Like, I'm still waiting for that poor moment where Cameron Monaghan gets his live action. He gets to do it on stage, and he loves the character. He lives and breathes Cal, and he's so, in theory, intrinsic to the Star Wars lore and world, and yet, poor lad just isn't getting the screen time yet. But we digress. Moving on to a few last quick stories of the week. Bethesda's Todd Howard might have just revealed the launch of Indiana Jones, announced back in 2021 with a trailer. In works at Machine Games, the folks who did Wolfenstein. The movie, Dial of Destiny, has came and went now. Harrison Ford has bowed out as Indiana Jones. We expect anyway. I'm pretty sure he has. The guy's 80 now. 2024 seemingly is what Todd Howard's teasing. He had an interview back at Gamescom, and it was revealed. Gentlemen, Indiana Jones. I know, Richie, you're not the biggest fan, so Rob, I'll throw it over to you for Indiana Jones in this game. Where does this sit in your library of kind of hype going into next year? Is this Xbox's biggest game of 2024, or
I don't know really?
Is the wind been taken out of its sails?
We got a trailer for which kind of revealed next to nothing. What?
Just a messy table. Yeah, just a messy table of stuff.
And that was it. I don't know if Indiana Jones has the following that maybe some people think it has. I know people, like, especially people our age, like, have a really kind of big place in the heart for it. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if it's endured to modern day in the same way like other franchises have. like
seemingly
the last
every movie comes out and it's not as well favoured, so it's just chipping away at the popularity as they keep making more. They keep making it worse. It's just like just stop. I enjoy
when you think like the score on good indie movies versus bad ones is like 3-2 now. That's very quick. That's very close to being
50-50.
Yeah, right.
Pretty bad, yeah.
So I don't know what to expect. It could be great. It could be just a low effort movie tying. I'm not sure. I have to wait and get more information.
With it being Machine Games, I'm expecting a good, very polished game.
Yeah.
Wolfenstein games are great.
Yeah, I've said before,
So-
if they nail it, if this is like basically just Uncharted but with Indiana Jones, and like whether it looks like Harrison Ford or not, I'll probably look past that within the first 2 hours of playing it. And if they have the theme tune, I'm down, I'm in. And as you said, Machine Games, it ain't going to be bad, and I'm probably going to enjoy the 30 hours I'm going to put into the game than I probably would have enjoyed watching the movies for 30 hours, or the recent movies for 30 hours. But
I think my expectations is it's probably going to play closer to something like Doom or Wolfenstein rather than like Uncharted, with it being Machine Games, and that's what they're known for. I know you hate that idea,
that's
Chris.
not
of it being
Indiana
first
Jones.
person.
Like they're running around. I know he kills Nazis like you do in Wolfenstein, but like that's
Yeah.
running around like that. It's too frenetic to be Indiana Jones. But again, they can do with it what they want because the movies are seemingly done with now. I just hope it's not first person. Don't do first person. I just want to see two Indiana Jones hands in a whip doing that. I need to see the character in the world exploring and being him. But we digress. We've got a bit of time to wait. In the meantime, though, we might be all going to the cinema to see Stray, the movie. Somehow, this cat, our beloved cat from Blue 12 Studio and publisher Annapurna, is being developed by Annapurna Pictures, which I didn't know they had a publishing arm in the movie industry, but apparently everyone does now. Stray, of course, went into PlayStation Plus Day 1 exclusive. It since came to Xbox and PC. Fantastic game. It was in a couple of people's Game of the Year conversation for last year, actually, is going to get a adaptation to a movie. So, Richie, what does a Stray movie look like? I mean, the world is great, but obviously it's a cat.
That's why I'm struggling. I think there's a really cool stuff you could do with that world, but I'm not sure you can do it with the cat as the protagonist. Because it's a cat, it works when you play as it, but to just sit and watch. Because I think if you're going to do a movie or like, I think an anime could be interesting for Stray, like going a different route than just a straight up movie. I don't know. I think there's something in there, but I'm not sure what it is. Because the world building, like it's when you're exploring that world, it's like, oh god, there's some really cool stuff that they could do in here.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so
reading from,
I'm hoping it's just not a straight up retelling of the game.
Well, reading from Robert Baird, who's the head of Annapurna Animation, and a quote: "This is a game that is all about what makes us human, and there are no humans in it. It's a buddy comedy about a cat and a robot. There's a hilarious dynamic." The team are going to come up with something special and emotional in this adaptation. How we're going to pull that off in the movie, we will see. So he
has no clue.
He's like, yeah. Continue, it says, I think if we're going to do this adaptation justice, it's going to be a greatest hope punk movie that's ever been made. Hope punk, if you're wondering, is described as optimism in the form of resistance. It doesn't really
fits.
I mean, it fits, but again, how you adapt that into a buddy comedy about a cat and a robot, I don't know. I guess
it's lost a very like high level concept there, isn't it? Not much.
They don't know what the movie is either. Basically,
I mean, it needs to be very self aware that it's a movie about a cat, right? For it to land almost like Deadpool-esque. Like you need to be in on the joke. Like we get it. It's not a human. It's a cat.
What are you pitching? What's your demographic for this? Because Stray, I think, is quite. I think Stray is quite an adult game in a lot of ways, in like the themes in it. But then, if you're going to make an animated film starring a buddy cop a buddy adventure with like a cat and a wisecracking robot, that feels like a kids' movie.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that's all going to mesh.
What a choice! But we'll have to wait and see what Stray looks like and if it's any good. But you know what? Video game movies have been absolutely smashing it out the park recently with Mario, Uncharted, and some of the other ones, The Last of Us TV series, so Stray could be the next big hit. Moving on to our final story of the week. We won't spend much time on this because we spent 160 episodes talking about this. It appears Google is not giving up on its gaming efforts just yet, as YouTube, of all people, places, things, businesses, begins public testing of Playables, Google Playables, which is an initiative to allow games to be added to YouTube. First reported earlier this year, it's a product for playing online games, streaming them, a la Google Stadia, built into YouTube. And there's beta testers out there now who are using it, who've got the Google Play Pass. Apparently they have early access to it. Now, I don't want to spend time because we could very much go into a 1 hour rant about them giving up on Stadia and what the hell this is. But, Richie, what did Google do? And did they just not get it? Or
I think this is more going to be closer to like the Netflix gaming stuff, where it's going to be more like mobile games stuff rather than trying to get into the mainstream gaming market. I say mainstream, the mobile gaming market is by far bigger than the console market, but I think that's what this is. It's just mobile games.
Yeah, well, the first game being tested is a small title called Stack Bounce, which is also on the actual Google Play Store. I don't know what the game actually is, but
so it's already on Google's thing. So what's the point?
It's just that thing where I think, again, they want to be in gaming, but now they've flung the towel in on Stadia. Like we said when that all was shut, like they've lost any goodwill towards this, and seemingly, obviously, they have the tech behind the scenes, so they're like, well, we need to do something with it. And there's some people over there who are still like, oh, let's just rebrand it. Because we said for a while, I think we did a whole side quest or cloud quest episode on like, should they rebrand it to YouTube Gaming
Relaunch.
or Google Gaming or something like that? Isn't like got that Stadia stink attached to it. And
how do they integrate it properly with like
Is
YouTube
it
stuff? Yeah,
it is. Lots of stuff has that Stadia stink on, but seemingly they're chipping away at it. We'll maybe learn more about YouTube Playables, which is a bad name in my opinion as well. Like it doesn't really tell you what it is. Sounds like Dairylea Lunchables. Do you want some YouTube?
Sounds
Playables,
like
kids.
It gives like drugs elements to me, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh, you high again, Rob? Yeah, those YouTube Playables.
Yeah,
do you
want to do playable? So, like,
you're the guy who got searched for drugs in the night.
I did last night, which you guys will know I'm the furthest from that you could possibly get, but we go into it, we digress. Right then, let's round up the show, gents, with what we'll probably always do, is this day in video games in history. So we're recording this on September the 10th, so let's look back at some titles. Going back to the older ones, we've got Echo the Dolphin, Defender of the Future, 23 years ago in 2000.
I loved Echo the Dolphin.
I enjoyed Echo the Dolphin.
Bring back Echo the Dolphin.
I never played its sequels, but at what point did he become the Defender of the Future? He's a dolphin. A couple of ones I've never helped. 30 years ago in Japan, Mutant League Football. Never heard of this game before, but I'm intrigued. Mutant League Football. It's just footy with monsters?
This was it not American football?
I can't tell from the... Made by EA. There. Anything happens when the most awesome mutants battle to prove who rules the galactic gridiron. 16 vicious teams of aliens, robots, trolls, skeletons, and superhumans set the death index from rough all the way up to annihilation.
Do you remember that Games Workshop had that kind of football game called Blood Bowl or something? I think it was kind of like a rip-off of that.
I mean, it must be American football, yeah. 'Cause is it
Gridiron.
pronounced gridiron? Yeah. And it says quarterback throws a bomb. It's the real thing. So, Mutant League Football back in 1993. What else have we got? SpongeBob SquarePants Revenge of the Flying Dutchman for the Game Boy Advance.
Some decent games in this list.
There was. It's good. I mean, I was going to say good year, but it's not. It's a good day for video game releases.
Yeah.
Super Mario Maker, 8 years ago. 8 years ago.
Super Mario Maker 2's out, so...
Yeah, it's insane. And for us, Richie, Life is Strange True Colours came out 2 years ago, in fact.
Yeah.
And for me, Killzone Mercenary on the PlayStation Vita was alive and well.
For me, the one I want to shout out is Tales of Arise. Really good game.
Tales of Arise. Jurassic Park 3 Park Builder on Game Boy Advance. That kind of been a good game. A park building game on a Game Boy
Advance.
Either way. What a day in video gaming, folks. That's been it for episode 4 of the Gamer Guild podcast, where every week myself, Richie, and Rob get together to round up all the video game news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/GamerGuildTV, and of course available on your podcast preference of choice. Podcast service preference of choice. I realised the other day I was saying this out loud and my wife was like, what do you mean when you say podcast preference of choice? And I thought about it and I was like, yeah, I don't mean to say preference. I mean to say service. But I've said it for like 170 shows now and more, and it's what I say.
podcast platform of preference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think at some point it's just switched over? You started actually saying something that made sense.
Maybe, but yeah, it was when she pointed it out, and I was kind of like, yeah, that is wrong. So, podcast service of choice or your podcast platform of choice, folks. Don't forget to review, leave a comment below to help us out with the algorithm. Share, like, do all that jazz, and we'll see you all next week. But thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for tuning in. My name's been Chris.
And I've been Rishi.
And I've been Rob.
We've been GamerGuildTV. Have a good one, folks, and remember, play whatever makes you the happiest. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.